Okay. Hi, friends. So today, myself Shrikant here, and I have a guest, Mohit Nathwani, who is currently working in SAP as a software engineer. So in today's session, we will deep dive and explore what are the opportunities and challenges Mohit has faced, and of course, from the QE perspective, what are the takeaways for QE community from the developer perspective. So Mohit Nathwani, I had a chance to work with him. He was an intern in our company, and he was under me for one project. So initially, looking at his profiles, he was a Salesforce administrator in this PCCA College Pune, and for internship for 2 months, 3 months, he was with me, and then after selection, he joined as an internship for in 5 months for a different project, and then currently he's working in SAP Labs. As you can see, almost 2.5 years. So it's good. We will have more interaction and developer perspective for the QE community. So welcome, Mohit, once again to this podcast to this session. So let's get started. So before that, can you shortly introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Shrikant. Thank you so much, and thank you for going through my LinkedIn. As you mentioned, that I started my BTech journey from PCCOE College. My BTech lasted from 2019 to 2023, and after 2023, I joined ConnectWise as a two means during my BTech, I joined ConnectWise as a 2 month intern. Company came at the end of third year, and then I was a 2 month intern in the same in which I got the opportunity to work with Shrikant. I was mentee in the project, and Shrikant was the mentor. In that project, also there was a AWS automation project in which we were fetching the logs. We were using ELK Elasticsearch Log Station Kibana and automating it using Postman by fetching the logs. So that was one project, and after that, I had got the opportunity to get a 6 month internship in the ConnectWise itself for a different project. And after completing my BTech, I joined SAP in my full time role. And now it's been almost 2.5 years that I am in SAP. Yeah, that was a small intro from my side.
All right. So quite a good. Within 2.5 years, you've achieved a lot of things. As I said earlier to you, SAP is still a dream company for many of the engineers who want to join, and it's very vast, right? So let's get started. So um, let's talk about quickly. Your how did you land as an internship in ConnectWise, and then what things you worked on, a little detail.
Okay, all right. Speaking particularly to my batch was COVID affected. So, during the end of first year only, the COVID hit, and most of the time we were at home. So, at that time, everyone was doing side gigs on their own. Someone was into freelancing, some was into development, some people were doing DSA. So, I also started my development journey at that time. I was learning the basics of it, JavaScript, React, and then going through the online web tutorials that were uploaded on YouTube. And then when I interacted with my seniors, I came to know that as good as development is, we also need a strong command on DSA, because that is what the companies ask when they come for interview or for placement. So at that time, I had no grasp of DSA whatsoever. And then I started going through the YouTube channels to see which DSA line I could get, means how can I practice my DSA. And earlier it was very overwhelming. There were a lot of data structures and algorithms, and I was confused about how to go on about it. But after talking to seniors and taking some guidance from them, I slowly and steadily started my DSA journey, and I was doing 2 to 3 problems every day. I started with easy problems. Once I got the basic of it, then I went to lead code, and I was practicing my lead code, and I also used to post it on LinkedIn. So after the uh, ConnectWise came at the end of third year, and I had almost 1 year to prepare for my DSA. So by the time ConnectWise came, I already had my DSA prepared. And also talking about the ConnectWise interview round. So the first round was initial screening, which had 30 MCQ questions, as far as I remember. Mostly it was 30. It was mainly based on the concept of DBMS, SQL, core, OOPS. Most five prominent subjects that we have in the computer engineering, it were based on that. And then the next two questions were purely based on DSA. So as I was studying these subjects into my college, I was able to clear the basics of the 30 MCQ questions that were asked. And talking about DSA, I was preparing DSA from my second year till third years, and the questions were lead code, easy to lead code medium. It was not lead code hard, so I was able to solve that also. So that's how I cracked my initial part of it. And then once the screening was done, there was an in-person interview. As far as I remember, it was one technical round and one managerial round, or two technical round and one managerial round. So, but the concepts I remember were asked mostly about my resume. There were few DSA questions and the things that I mentioned in DSA. So things that I mentioned in my resume. So my resume also mentioned about blockchain because I've done my honors in blockchain. So they asked me general level questions on blockchain because the person who was asking uh, during the interview has also means done some research or was interested out of curiosity into blockchain. So he was asking good quality of questions on the same. So I was able to answer that. That's why he also got trust that this guy is being genuine. He has mentioned in the resume whatever he has learned. So that was one good side that I had on my side, that they were trusting me that I have mentioned only those things that I have actually worked on or learned from my side in my resume at least. So this was my short experience with the ConnectWise internship and how I landed it.
Okay, right. So what I take away from this is, consistent studying any particular topic, let's say DSA or whatever is in your mind,
Hmm.
and then giving it a daily thought, or discussing with peers. And then, of course, there will be different companies coming for interview, but then that helps at a very large level. And of course, once you clear the technical thing, then the interview also, it becomes interesting in the interview that this candidates not only have done the academic thing, but something additional to that. So that is uh, good point, right? Coming to next point, so you have around 2 years, 2.5 years of experience. So, what are the typical, let's say, top three challenges you have faced? Let's say when you joined, and at what point you are today. Uh, what are the things you were saying were challenging for you?
Yeah. Yeah, so there are common general problems that one might face when starting from campus to corporate journey. So mostly the thing that I faced difficulty was firstly dealing out with the overwhelming responsibility that you get when you are transitioning from college to corporate. Although it is not bombarded on you, but you get the gist of it. I used to understand that this is a production live code and you are supposed to make changes to it, and you should not do anything that will take down the production, at least for starters. So yeah, that is something. So but as and when time goes, you get familiar to it. You mostly what happens in corporate and what happened with me also in ConnectWise are that you are given simple tasks relatively compared to full-fledged feature. Once you get the feel of the code base, how it really is and how code flow works, that is when you are groomed in that way, that you are given easy tasks, you are involved in all the meetings, you are involved in scrum, uh, then planning meetings and day-to-day meetings, and then other meetings that also happen with product managers and project managers. So once you get the overall broader exposure of the project, it gets easier for you, but at the starting it is very overwhelming. Same goes for me and same goes for anyone who is starting in a new company. Other thing that I face to understand to because we work with cross-functional teams, so it gets really difficult to understand which component belongs to which team, whom to reach out to within team. Also there are specific components divided into each person, so whom to reach out to, because to understand the complete complexity of a product, it is not easy for a single person to understand in a few months. It takes long time because it is a legacy code written over years and years. So whom to reach out to is also gets difficult sometimes, but with the help of proper people and proper knowledge, you can after some time you can get the feel of it, and then you can easily connect with people that, oh, this is the module that this guy deals with, so we can reach out to him. Other than that, one of the difficulty that I faced was during my first rotation, where I was dealing with a legacy code, and the only IDE that worked with was Eclipse. So my earlier experience was with JetBrains IDE that I was using, and now I had to dig with Eclipse. I was able to understand the code, but I was not able to handle that tool. I was putting breakpoints somewhere, and the code flow was going somewhere. So it was really getting out of my hands to manage it. But then I sat with one of the senior. He told me that you can operate it in this way. To sometimes it's difficult to manage with the tools, although mostly it should be like you should deal with technology and focus on learning skills, but sometimes you have to invest your time in learning the tools, which should not be the ideal case because tools are supposed to help you and not take your time. But sometimes when dealing with the legacy code, it helps. It happens, and there is nothing we can do about it. But over time, I think the code also improves, and people start from migrating from legacy code to newer code, and that is when improvement can happen. Yeah.
Right. So I would echo to your problem, the legacy part. You go to any client, any company, legacy is always a mess. You take any
Yeah.
project, whether it is, even I have seen in, let's say, 2 years back, there was a system in my earlier company where they were using JDK 5, and now JDK 18 is already in market. So they have
Mm,
to work in JDK 5 for some XYZ reason, business reason, because of old system. So my developer has to again go back to the old thought process, the JDK 5. So what happens is today, normally everybody knows, okay, Java, Lambda function and all, but in JDK 5 there was not much thing. So he has to undo
mm,
what he has learned and then go that deep level and then fix the code. So legacy is always a
mm,
mess.
mm.
But then yes, because of legacy, there are problems, and that's why we are here to modernize themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
Uh, so offline, when we were discussing, you told about you are also doing the QE additional role. So because you are from development side, so first when you were discussing or when you were planning for the QE role, what are the things which you considered, like apart from development, what QE things you considered when you were in that role?
Yeah. So when I started out with my project, the project that I was working on, I had to write a feature and a functionality. So I used to think of a brute force approach first, that this is how the code flow will go, this is how the data flow should happen. But and in that, most of the time I used to miss the edge cases because I used to think of it at the last, like first creating a foolproof plan that this is how things will grow. But most of the time, due to that, what would happen is I would miss the sketch, and then at the later point I would know this is the edge case that we are missing, and then I had to take more time to resolve it. So what happens for particular to my team, it is so that we don't have a QE profile here. So developer himself thinks of the edge cases and the complete end-to-end flow of where your code should go and where the data flow should happen. So being said that, when you have a doubt, or at least for my case, when it happened, that at that time I was not aware of how to deal with it, and then it came out in a team meeting where I was showing my demo that time that this is the edge case that has not been taken care of. So I went back and I had to do it re again. And from that time, I took a learning that if you have a doubt that where the edge case is missing, you go to product manager and ask it beforehand instead of waiting till the demo and then resolving it. Now what I do is I usually ask if there are any edge cases around. I show the complete flow what I have thought of, and if there is any edge case that is remaining, that please inform me beforehand so that I can take care of it before developing the whole code, and then being messing it up in the main meeting rather than I would try to do it beforehand. Yeah, so that is something, a key learning that I took away from it. So I'm
So
the
let me
perspective, the
so let me
perspective of
add.
QE.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
continue.
And the perspective I means being a developer, I sometimes miss the perspective of QE, which I think can be gained by some experience or exposure. That developers' point of view is making the code, and I think QE's perspective is breaking the code. So maybe that goes. I don't think of breaking the code at the time of developing, but I think you need to say once you have written the code, you need to see from that point of view also. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was actually coming to that point that developer's best case is always talking about this is the the normal flow, the general flow, and this is the way
Mm.
the end user should behave, or this is the way the data should process. We will normally call it as happy path, but then that is not
Mm, happy path.
that is not something which is very, we as a QA we are not much interested, because that anyway developer has tested while doing unit testing and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So our main intention, first thing is, we are acting as a advocate of the devil. We are acting as an end user, and end user we
Mm.
cannot control what that person will do or how the data will come, right? There's for example, there's a number field, and we are entering text, for
Mm.
example. So the field should not accept any text, right? So this is just a One example, say there's a number field, it should not accept negative numbers. So we'll try to enter, say -5. So those kind of stuff. So our first approach will be, how can we break into the system so that when it is fixed, when it goes to end user, he will not repeat the same problem. So that is
Mm-hmm.
that is a typical QE perspective, that sometimes we have to go beyond the requirement, and then we have to say, okay, this is where it might break, so can you control it, right? So happy path and negative path, both we have to think. And then yes, it's good that it occurred to you early phase, so that you will remember it for a longer time,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It was not very early. It was almost at the end of the meeting that I came to. But at least I got a lesson, so I can remember it for the next time I move forward.
Okay. Yeah. um Again, coming to extending that, so optimizing on for the quality, right? So what developer wish QEs know before the code base, to make it make it to, let's say production or in the next environment. So what do you think, from developer perspective, you have done 10 things, but then when QE comes, what do you think, or what is your uh, suggestion to them, that do before doing testing, at least have a look on this, these are the requirements and XYZ points. So anything you want to comment here?
Mm, so, speaking specific to our team does not have a externally dedicated QE role, but the QE role that we ourselves play in our team is like first, as I told, we think from a happy path point of view. We think of the whole code from a happy point of view, and then once the code is written, then or once the template of the code is done, then we think from the breaking point of view where the things could go wrong. Suppose as in API call I'm making, and then this API call has a rotation key of one, doing one per day, but I've not written that logic that where the API key is being now rotated, because this API key I have taken and directly passed. So I should write a code where API key is rotating every single day, so that even if it is leaked, it is does not cause, it's as it is a good practice to have a rotation API key. So that is something that we need to take care of. This is something that good practices I have not imbibed completely, but I am improving it on as the time is going on. So there's something I am also improving on. And thinking from a QE point of view, I have a very limited exposure to it because I primarily work as a developer. Still, I try to think of from that perspective for some time, because when the code is done, then I need to think of it. Is there any end point or loose point where things could go wrong? So from that perspective, when I think, uh, I usually tend to go to my seniors, like how to resolve this, or are there any edge cases that I am missing, because they have more exposure to project than I have comparatively. So that is how I take care of it. But speaking like that, we do not have a dedicated QE partner, so I cannot comment on how the
No, no.
QE would
So,
react to
so,
it here.
so let me. I think you already answered the question. So, what I would
Uh,
say is, in general, whenever you hear
mm,
a QE head, or whenever a QE does the
mm,
testing, uh, uh, the point of what you have given is always use the latest data or the updated data. For example, any token,
mm,
right? So, let's
mm,
say let's say QE starts testing today, and then today the token is expired. So, it is better to start the testing process with the proper data. Let's say generate a token for one day, or
mm,
the day when we are starting the testing, and then start the testing. So that is a good point, that start with the proper data and latest data as per the whatever XYZ standard. You answered, I think you answered the question.
mm, mm,
Okay, so right. Um, Again, one interesting question. So of course there will be defects, maybe minor, maybe major. Um, let's say if any defect is there and you somehow fixed it for as per the expectation, but then for some reason it might be reopened. Okay, so you fixed it as per
mm,
your expectation. When it goes to QE, and you are wearing a QE hat, you say that okay, partially it is working but not like fully. Okay, for example, let's say I'm able to enter the proper values in all the fields for a form, but the submit button is not getting enabled. So the expectation is, like, when the QE raises the defect, it will say that okay, enter every value in the field, all the fields in the form. So after entering the
mm,
last or the all the fields, the submit button should be enabled. But that nobody think that time, right? Okay. So I am, as a queue, I am seeing the defect that okay, this is not happening. The values are not able to
mm,
enter or whatever. But then this is the
mm,
extension of that, right? So something like this. So So how do you take it, uh, uh, you know, from the coding perspective or from the requirement perspective? How do you take it?
Okay. Uh, from that point of view, actually, one of the scenario that has happened with me, I will share that. So I was working on a UX thing, means I was designing a UI. I was updating our code was moving from one of the theme to another theme, and for that we have to make changes to the width of the screen, mean the input fields and different things. So I was working on my laptop and a monitor screen. So I was doing it, and I did it according to the Figma which was given to me, and then I completed, and then I gave the Figma file or the screenshot that this has been completed and provided it to UX, because UX is the one who checks for that whether the UI. So it was a classic example of it is working on my ecosystem, but it is not working on your system because I was working on a desktop which had a different resolution, and he was working on a linear screen which had a different resolution. So there it was mismatch was happening. Then when I came to know, I did it with the resolution of my laptop, and then he also did it, checked it with the resolution of his laptop, and then it came to right assigned in Figma. So that being said, but it was not from a input validation point of view. Like this, I have seen when I was working on one of the field called as short text. Basically, it was a whenever if you are creating an API and you have to give a short description of what this API does, I was creating a same kind of feature. So when I was writing that there has to be a limited set of characters that you have to put in, as for example 100 or 120, that is the maximum number of characters that you can put in. So I was dealing with that, and but thankfully the code that I wrote was working successfully, so I did not face the difficulty that you are talking about. So that went on smooth for me, at least.
All right. So yes, there is some learning. Hmm. Okay. Um, Now coming to the hot topic, I would say the interview strategies, how to crack or how to clear interviews, right? So
Mhm,
looking at the current scenario or looking at based on your experience, I'm sure you might have appeared multiple interviews for the real companies where you're
mhm,
working. What are the
mhm,
top 3 points or some strategy uh, to crack? Of course, the internship is different thing, but then when you're
mhm,
competing as a walk-in interview or any HR referral or whatever, how do any strategy, any top 3 points you want to mention?
mhm. Yeah. So one thing that I completely believe in is when you want to achieve any interview or anything in life in general, is that I believe in showing up. This one strategy I did this for my internship, for my job, almost every aspect of my life. When I wanted to get the internship, I was doing 2 DSA problem every day till almost 100 plus days, and I had almost 250 plus problem solved on my lead code. And after that, when I went for connectwise interview, it was almost all the questions were already from the one that I have already previously done. So mostly it so happens that when you keep working, you will not realize the benefit of it then and there. But 2 year, 4 months down the line, whatever you are trying or whatever you are learning, you will get the benefit of it. So showing up every day for the thing you want and the outcome that you want, I think is the one thing that works out really well. So speaking particularly to cracking interviews, nowadays it is very evident that we have to do DSA to crack a, means if you want to get into a product company, the fastest way is to doing the DSA. So what I particularly did for my DSA was there were multiple categories like array stack, queues, linked list, GP trees. So I practice each one of them for particular time period, and then keeps doing two questions every day to get a good understanding of it. When then the company came, it was not as difficult as it was earlier me when before I started doing the DSA. So if you keep showing up, and earlier it might feel that we might not make it, but as and when time goes, 2 months, 3 months down the line, you can see that you can solve the problems, and you will also get the confidence to get into interview and then correct the problems, is what I really think. So the consistency or the art of showing up is what I think can really get you there. Because it gains you confidence, and at the end of the day they see how much confident you are in your interview. So if you have confidence that you can get things done, then that is all they want.
Right. So consistency is one point I would say, and that and I also have same point. The consistency is important, very very important. Let it be 10 minutes every day, 1 hour every day. But then
mm,
every day, if you do, what happens based on my experience. When you start something new, let's say I'm learning some new language. Let's say I'm a Java background, but I'm switching to Python. So consistently, if you do one program, three program, seven program every day, even at, let's say, at the 10th day or 20th day, or even after 3 weeks, the kind of confidence what you have to solve the next problem, you can easily understand the problem. You can have quick solutions. Let it be a difficult problem, let it be something new, you can google it. But then the thing is, you try to understand, you will understand it very fast, and sometimes maybe solution is very quick, or you can understand what other person has written the code, and based on that, how can you solve this problem, right? So consistency is very important. Yeah. Any other point want to mention?
from the preparation point of view. Yeah, from the preparation point of view, I will mention that one point that will really has played a good role in my entire career journey is the group or people you hang out with. So I really believe that the people who you hang out with plays a important role, because if there are five people who are constantly leveling up themselves in any particular aspect of life, and if you are in contact with them, you will naturally absorb that energy and you will try to do your best at least. So this happened with me in my college, all as well as when I was preparing for my 12th standard, which I can share a small experience. So when I was in 12th standard, my first 11th standard was completely waste. I was not into studying. I was not completely studying, and I almost wasted my 11th year. And at the 12th, I understand that now I cannot crack JEE with the good marks. So, but then I also realized that if I hang out with means people who are competing for IIT JEE, if I hang out with them, I can still try my best to at least give it a chance of what I can do my personal best. So then when there was one friend who used to go every day to library from morning 6 to 9 at night, and then I used to go with him every day. So this I did for 6 months straight, and then I had a 97 percentile plus. So that is one thing. I think if you hang out with right people, the aspiration is very contagious. So if you hang out with right people, your aspiration will go high, and then you'll start showing up for yourself. Yeah, that is something I think. So hanging out with right people.
This is great. Yeah, this is great. The company you keep, the way, that's how you develop yourself. That's how automatically things happen. Mm. Okay.
Mhm.
Now coming to your journey again. Any particular stage or any particular state, let's say in your professional career, where you felt you're completely stuck, and then this is a problem I need to solve, and there is some limited help, or there are some channels available. So how do you approach, or how do you try to resolve, to make it to get it across?
Yeah. So I have experienced a similar kind of situation. So I come from a technical background completely because I did my BTech and then I completed my MTech. But I always had the obsession of understanding the things to more broader level, because when I was working as a developer, my point of view was very limited to the features that were given to me. So you are given a Jira ticket, you work on it for 2 weeks, and then you deliver. So the scope of understanding is very limited to either your niche category of product that you are working on, or to your problem statement that is usually given to you. But I wanted to have the broader understanding of the projects and the products that at least our company is providing. So to understand that, I went around and told people that I would like to get more exposure to products. That what can I try from my side? So I got to know that there are multiple opportunities that our company at least provides. You can get global fellowship, you can work as a product manager, you can join an academy to get more exposure or understanding of how things work on broader level. Because when you work as a developer, your understanding remains very niche level. But when you are working as a product manager, you need to have the context of the whole product, how cross functional teams are working, what is the product roadmap, what are we going to do forward, how is the your product doing compared to the industry level product that is out there competing with our product. These things remain um, not hidden but very limited to a developer. But when you go to a broader like consulting profile or product manager profile, these things give you broader context. So I wanted that exposure, and then I reached out to correct set of people, and then I told them that this is something that I want to learn and I want to understand, and I got the proper help. And right now I'm working. I have the means part time profession that is associate product manager. I'm hanging out with the people who are into product management and trying my best to understand how this field also works.
All right. So this is yeah awesome. I would like to add one more point here, that you are stuck somewhere, right? I will just add my experience here, and then maybe we can wind this off. So in one of the project earlier, not in my current company, but the earlier company, there was only one or two line requirement from the product side, that we want a certain screen having so and so elements. Now I really wanted to know, like, why only two lines of requirement, and then what developer will do in these two lines. So developer somehow developed it, but then I felt that this is not sufficient. So we talked to the product owner, but then that person also had some limited knowledge. So we, through proper channel, through proper management, we actually talked to one customer, that we are planning something like this, and then we wanted your perspective, and we are stuck here, that how this will be a value addition for a particular customer or for a vendor. And then that person, that actual customer client, they told us that they want certain, these 4 5 fields, and maybe some additional text, which will be a really value addition, and it will look very simple and easy to understand. So we got stuck somewhere. Then we talked to the product owner, then we actually, through management and this thing, we actually talked to one client, and then that gave us a very good feedback, and then we implemented like that. So this is one of the way that if you're stuck somewhere, how you can proceed, not only from the development or QA perspective, but actually as a product perspective, what best we can do, right?
Mhm. True, true.
All right. So once again, Mohit, thanks for your time, and it was really nice discussion. Of course, this is very initial discussion. Probably let's see how
Mhm.
it goes. Maybe we'll have additional sessions going forward.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Shrikant, for hosting me. It was my pleasure to have an interaction with you after a long time.
All right. See you then. Thanks, Mohit.
Yeah, thanks. Bye bye.
All right, so welcome back, Mohit, after a break, right? So continuing to the earlier discussion, just a couple of points more. Um, so what is your, I'm sure you might have worked on some bug fixing, because, normally at entry level, typically in many of the companies, they prefer to give bug fixing task to the new person who has joined. Uh, of course, that will bring more visibility into the code instead of giving the hands-on training. Uh, so I'm sure you might have fixed some bugs so far, and then might have, designed some feature. So what is your experience, between these two, like bug fixing and feature development? So how do you look at these two?
Yeah. So talking about bug fixing and my feature development experience. So in my first rotation, when I started, I was given the initially to understand the code base and to get familiar with how the team works, how the PR creation, or in general the way that team creates PR or writes code gets. For that they were given some small bugs to get started with. So initially I was given a bug which was related to UX. I told earlier that there are some UX design implementation. We were rearranging the theme for our product. So at the time I was given to change the margin width and then the input validation fields. And then from the backend point of view, I was given one of the data field which was taking input, but the data was not being persistent when the one system was communicating to another system. The When the communication was taking place, one of the field that were working as an input were dropping in between. So there was a breakage in the data flow from that point of view. So when you are given this kind of bug fixing, what we probably do is we go through the means point and break system. Like you apply the debugger on all of the code flows that are going out, and then you go through the trace the flow where the data is going, and that's how you also understand the how the data flow in the code base is taking place. So that is what I also did. I applied most of the debuggers in all the code flows that I was seeing, that the code flow is going here and there, and then tracing till what point that my data is being persisted and at what time the data is being dropped. So that is how I used to find out where the data is being dropped and then fix it accordingly. So that was the journey of understanding the code base, and it really helps when you are a beginner because you don't have to think of the massive systems and how everything will organize, how will code flow happen. There is pre-written code and you just have to follow it, like how the uh, senior developer has already written, and you are flowing, also understanding how he has written code and taken data from one point to another point, and where is it being dropped due to some reason. So this is something that helps you in learning the code base, and also gives you proper understanding of how the code is flowing in the overall uh, the data is flowing in the overall code. So that is helpful. And when you talk from a feature development point of view, uh, one thing that I've noticed is you have to think on more on the broader level compared to just following what the pre-existing code is. You need to write your own APIs. You need to think of how to integrate with DB, what sanitation we do have to take place, what are the edge cases that you will have to think of. Additionally, you have to think like, are there any documents that you have to read, because once you are developing a feature, there also comes a documentation of how this feature will be used. If there is any uh, uh, precaution that you should use while taking this, so if there is a means delete functionality or something that you have introduced, then you have to write that also, that this is what we have introduced. So a brief description that has to be written when you are developing a feature, compared to when it comes to bug, you are just resolving the Jira ticket that has been given to you. So there is something major difference that is between bug that you are resolving and a feature that you are writing from scratch.
Right. So probably a little perspective is different
Mm,
in both the things. Right. Now coming to
yeah.
the next point is about the PR review or code review
Mm,
basically. So
mhm,
definitely this comes in the life of every software developer, that there are code reviews definitely going to happen, and then there will be some review comments, right? So
mhm,
like any experience, like this is proper things. Of course there will be some guidelines, there will be some documentation in any of the organization, that you have to write the code in certain way, because that's how we'll get good results, less breakage and some standards. So any particular
mhm.
you want to highlight, okay, this was a good situation you handled, or maybe not a good thing you handled, and then later it came as a code review.
Mhm. Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we work in a cross-functional team of way. So there was one occasion when I had to write code in someone else's repository to integrate it with our product, because the repo belonged to them, and then we had to introduce functionality into that repo. So I was used to being write code in my repo and do a PR from that point of view. But when I wrote code in their repo and pushed it, there were multiple comments that came that this is something we are not following, this is not how it should be done, or there is a different way. When someone even went to an extent that what is the use case of this code that you are introducing, we are not aware of this product, because the product manager of that repo was completely different from the product manager of mine repo. So they have to align uh, internally among the upper level that we are introducing this product into your repo, so they also need to align. So that product manager was not aware of that we are introducing or pushing a code. So there also came a comment that what is the use case of this. So there are multiple things, but from a technical point of view also, we need to read their documentation also, that how they are doing things on their end, and then resolve it accordingly, because every team works in a different way. Although we are in the same umbrella, but every team has a style of working in their way, because there are also some teams in SAP means uh, means internal to SAP at first, and then they were being bought to way of working is completely different than ours, and it takes time to get things aligned. So yeah, there is something that we need to go through documentation if we are doing PR with external teams. So in our teams, it generally is the standard purpose that this is how you develop a PR. You should make sure that all the prerequisite checks are done, your SAS test checking is done, and your static code works fine, and then there is no breakage, and all CI/CD pipelines are checked, and then you are good to go and raise a PR for the same.
Okay, so better documentation and awareness, I would say, that even if you are interacting or making some changes in some other team or other responsible team, we need to make them aware. Or if there is something which they follow, then we also have to incorporate in our thing, because it is ultimately our responsibility, because we are making that change, we are causing that change. Right. And the
Mhm.
last point is anything you have you heard about this shift left?
Shift left. I've heard about it, but I'm not really recalling. I've
Hmm. So I
heard
will tell
of it
you.
somewhere. Shift left. Yeah.
I'll tell you. So very briefly, what shift left is. This is a practice we followed. So what happens is, let's say there is a dev and QA separate people, and then what happens is developer develops the code the code review, everything happens, and then
Mm-hmm.
it is the code is working on the developer system or developer environment, and now it is going to the next environment, which is typically the QA environment, or let's say some people call it SIT environment. So in SIT environment, sometimes things do not work because it's a broader level. It's a QE has a lot of more integration as compared to dev environment or even your local environment. So what happens is that is where a lot of things may not work. So in shift left, what we do is we ask the developer that give a demo of whatever the data that person has developed on his system to QA.
Mm.
So the
Okay.
QA will have a call or whatever, video conference or whatever. And then QA
Mm-hmm.
will try to test the whatever delta on the developer's environment or on developer's local system. So what happens is QA will have a different perspective, make or break the system. So then and there only they will try to come up with lot of scenarios, say typically mostly negative scenarios, or typically like that. And then the perspective might change that this is the requirement. We both agree during the planning, but then some slight change here and there may break the system. So what happens is
Okay.
because of this, the if the developer agrees that okay, this is a defect or this is a bug, or if the product owner says that okay, yeah, we have to fix it. So now we are saving a lot of cycle. You see, it is going from dev to QA environment, the deployment, everything, and then goes to QA. QA will find out the bug and report it through Jira, and then it will again come as a bug for the PO to prioritize, and so there's an entire cycle we are saving. So we have a shift left approach here. That so like not for all the stories. Let's say first target for 50 or 70% of the stories in the sprint. We'll have a demo to the QA on the dev environment only. So then and there we'll try to solve a lot of problem. So we will try to save time, money, and of course better quality product.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Good practice.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
being followed a lot of places. So it's a good
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So all right, Mohit. So I think it's a good, healthy, and good discussion. Anything you want to say, at the end of this session, like the what best we can do further?
Yeah. I can speak from the early talent point of view because I have a 2 and 2.5 year of experience. What I can give as an advice is keep your technical strong. Technical will take you far, but also keep your people skill top notch because I'm not sure if you guys have heard this. काम 19-20 हुआ चलेगा इंसान 20 होना चाहिए from Zakir Khan. That mentions that if you are a good person, it always comes in handy. Your technical skills will obviously help you, but after a certain age, it's not about the skills you have, but it is about the network that you have. So yeah, keep your technical strong, but also build your network in the company that you are going on LinkedIn or wherever you are going, and master your people skills. That will definitely help you in your career. And with the AI coming in, people skill is really people will focus on from now on. I think yeah.
Yeah, good advice. Okay,
Yeah.
so thanks, Mohit. Thank you for your time. See you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.